AITA for telling my husband I won't be going to his birthday dinner since he asked if I would leave early anyway? For context, I will be 38 weeks pregnant on my husband's birthday this year. The previous week, I reluctantly allowed his sister to pick my daughter up from school so she could spend the day with her and his parents. She does half days still. I say reluctantly because they have continuously crossed parental boundaries in the past, but that's a different story. It had been a while, and she loves them and I truly want them to have a relationship, so I gave it another go. Anyway, my husband and I went to pick her up at his parents', and while there, his sister asked what he was doing for his birthday coming up. I had asked him a number of times already what he wanted to do, had thrown out some ideas for us to do as a family as well, but he never decided on anything. So, he says he doesn't have plans. She asked if he wanted her to make him dinner at her apartment then, and he said yeah, that sounds good. It would be a family dinner, his parents, her partner, and our family. All good. Tonight he said that we could drive separately because he doesn't want to leave early. He asked me at dinner if I would leave early with our daughter so I could put her to bed. He wants to stay and drink and smoke and be up late. This majorly upset me because this whole pregnancy has not felt like a partnership whatsoever. He only made one of my several ultrasounds. I'm over 35, so get a good amount of them, works almost every weekend voluntarily versus making plans with my daughter and I, put off doing things I physically cannot do for the nursery until the third trimester I've been asking him to do since the first. I've also asked him to look into ways he can support me during birth, and not a single Google search has been made to that effect. I'm not sure if I'm being the crazy pregnant lady, but it certainly feels like he just wants to do whatever he wants without any regard to me carrying this child he told me desperately wanted. I was fine with one. Our birthdays are close. The baby's due date is only 2 days after mine, so I'll be 40 weeks from my birthday if she doesn't decide to arrive before then. So for my birthday, I don't get to do anything but be pregnant and wait for baby. It would be nice to feel like he wants to spend these special occasions with me/my daughter and I. He clearly is not empathetic to the fact that I can't go out and do these things for this period of time, so to be told to go home he can is hurtful. I told him that in that case, I don't even want to be there and she, my daughter, and I aren't going to dinner. Honestly, I would not be in a mood to celebrate, and just get upset anyway. But it does constantly feel like as much as he claims to be a family guy, spending quality time with us doesn't matter to him. Now for the next story. AITA giving my nephew pizza bagels. My husband, M40S, and I, M40S, are hosting my sister, F40S, as well as her husband/my BIL and their 2 kids, A, toddler, and B, M12. Since they don't have a lot of time alone and also can't afford to take many vacations, my husband and I put them up in a hotel for 2 days/1 night they're here so that they can have some alone time without the kids. My husband and I don't have any kids, but we're perfectly capable of taking care of the kids for a couple days solo. The toddler was pretty easy. Maybe she's not a toddler yet, and she's still an infant. I'm not sure of the specific distinction, but she ate baby food and bottles and some puffed cereal stuff provided by my sis. The problem came with feeding my nephew B. For dinner we made a tossed salad together. Everyone helped out with chopping vegetables, it was great. Then we made pizza bagels for the main. We had a great low-key dinner with our salads and bagel bites, and we camped out in the TV room watching a movie until B fell asleep. In my mind I thought it was a great evening. Well, my sister and BIL come back home from the hotel and we're chatting in the kitchen when she notices the pizza bagel box sitting in the recycling. She said, "You eat pizza bagels?" And I said, "Well, not usually, but we made them last night with B." Well, she flipped out on me for feeding B such a garbage snack. That's when I said, well, we made a nice chopped salad to go along with it, and then she flipped out more for the fact that this was not merely a snack but our dinner. I told her people have pizza and salad for dinner all the time, what's wrong with this? It was fun and easy. She told me that now I'm going to be obsessed with junk food and that if I had known this was going to happen, I never would have trusted you with taking care of them. You're not a parent, and it shows. Which honestly just felt like a low blow. My BIL apologized to me in private, but my sister is still acting cold. Next story. AITA for evicting my long-standing tenants? I, 38F, bought a 4-bedroom house in semi-rural Buckinghamshire when I was 23. It was a lovely big house, but the town was not fun for a 23-year-old. I always said I'd love it if I were 40 with kids, but it wasn't a great place for someone in their 20s. When I was 26, I put the house on the rental market and moved to London, where I lived for 2 years before moving to Australia. I found a lovely family to rent the house. A husband and wife, both in their mid to late 40s with 1 child, no pets, and respectable jobs. Rent was always paid on time, the estate agent always had good reports from inspection visits, and we never heard any complaints from neighbors. 14 years later, they're still living there. I've been traveling the world full-time for some years, spent the pandemic in Australia, then resumed traveling post-lockdowns. I'm now ready to return home, so I informed my estate agent that I want to break the contract and have them move out in 3 months' time, 2 months more notice than I'm obligated to give. The tenants were surprised to hear I was coming back and tried to ask if I was coming to live with my family. The agent brushed off question and told them to vacate in 3 months and that they can help find alternative accommodation. Tenants texted me directly to ask same question and I replied, "Haha, no husband or kids in tow, just ready to set roots again. Looking forward to being home. I grew up 20 minutes away." I got a text calling me selfish for kicking them out of their home of nearly 15 years, wanting a big house all to myself, placing my needs of travel and enjoyment ahead of starting a family and getting married. They told me I should leave them to buy the house for what I bought it for, it's doubled in price since, and go live in my other house. I replied, "You can dictate in a house that you own, not one that I own. Please have your things packed by X date, or I'll evict you and sue you for the costs." My friends are saying I'm kicking them out of their home and I don't need such a big place, so I can rent or sell my student flat for a deposit for a house nearby. My rented house is 90% paid though, and I don't want to start again with a new mortgage. I want to live in my house. I have been fair to the tenants and reasonable in my request. Recently learned of the edit feature. Okay, thank you for the feedback. I will be asking the estate agent to ask what ways I can help make this transition easier. I'm willing to extend the notice period by a few months if they want to. Thank you to those who remain civil in their disagreement. Comment 1. This is what makes her the AH for me. A few months' notice for a family who has been living there a decade and a half? It might not be their legal property, but it's definitely their home. They put down roots there and probably have a ton of stuff and things set up that come together over a lot of time, not to mention they might need time to try and find a place that's the right cost in the same neighborhood so they don't have to upend their lives. I'm not saying Opie should be running a charity, or that she doesn't have the right to take over the house. But when you've been hopping around the world for 15 years and let the same clearly very good, reliable tenants help you cover your mortgage, I would think giving them at least 6 months would be the non-H thing to do. If it were me, I'd have told them the previous year, "Hey, just a heads up that I'm thinking about coming home in another year, just want to give you plenty of warning." I mean, we're not talking someone subletting their furnished app for 3 months here. She was gone for almost half her life. Comment 2. I also bought a house and then had to move for work, wanted to move back into the house in the future, and so put it on the rental market. I've also had the same tenants for going on, I think it's 10 years now. Periodically they ask me what my plans are for the house because they don't want to run into this very scenario. I would never give them just 3 months to move from a place they'd lived in over a decade. I'd tell them a year in advance unless there was some unforeseeable set of emergency circumstances. But assuming they still live there, I will ultimately eventually tell them it's time for me to move back in. But it will never be out of the blue. I will definitely prepare them. It doesn't have to be adversarial, and my gosh, it's so hard to find good places to live around here. I think the 3-month notice, even if perfectly legal, is incredibly rough on the family moving out. Comment 3. I think this situation is a prime example of why days are likely numbered for no-fault evictions in the UK. OP is fair, in the sense that they have gone beyond their legal obligation, but this doesn't go far enough for such long-term tenants, and I'm not sure it is morally fair. However, it really is the fault of UK law and not OP. A reasonable adjustment to the law to something along the lines of 1 month notice for every full year in residence, potentially to a maximum of 12 months, would more fully take into account the upheaval to the tenants and the fact that purchasing a house is out of reach for many people, and most especially, lifelong renters in the UK. Also, the rental market is currently expensive, and often hostile, and unlikely to change any time soon. Saying that they should have purchased their own home does not take into account the realities of home ownership in the UK, it's just not that simple. However, I agree that the situation is inappropriate to visit upon OP as they do own the property. I think the tenants went too far with their response to OP, but the shock of losing their homes so suddenly, after 14 years 3 months, will feel very sudden, and due to no fault of their own can obviously elicit an extreme, and ill-considered, reaction. They are losing their home, the roots they have put down in the local area, as well as potentially losing convenient access to schools, jobs and amenities, which makes this such a significant life change that it must feel akin to a bereavement. Plenty of people don't act rationally when bereaved and their back is up against the wall. It may not be their property, but it for sure is their home. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.